What's up, everybody? It's your teal-haired fuckboy here to give you more opinions on music. So, a lot of the classic alternative rock bands of the 1990s have been releasing a lot of singles lately, both in 2021 and 2020. So, that begs the question, is alternative rock making a comeback? Well, I'm going to take a look at some of the singles from these classic alt-rock bands and give my opinions on them. Now, sadly, because all of the record companies are chomping at the bit to demonetize my channel, I won't actually be able to play any of the music from these tracks, so you'll just have to go and find them and listen to them yourself. This is Dancing with Ghosts. So the first track we're going to start off with is the new song from Offspring called Let the Bad Times Roll. Now, my initial reaction when I heard this song was how different Dexter Holland's vocals are starting to sound. It almost doesn't sound like him at all. I think it's getting harder for him to sing in that upper register that he's used to singing in, and it kind of here sounds like he's struggling a little bit in the song vocally, and maybe some auto-tune is even being used, but it's musically it's not a bad song. It's got some interesting guitar work in there. It's got kind of a nice alt-rock sound to it, although I will say the chorus is a bit indie pop, almost like Vampire Weekend, if Vampire Weekend actually had some balls. But like I said, overall, not a bad song in my opinion. I'm going to be interested to see what the rest of this album sounds like when it comes out. I'll definitely be putting this song into my rotation at my DJ gigs to try to spread the word that Offspring has new music out. Up next, we have Green Day. Here Comes the Shock. My first impression of this song was that much like the Offspring song before it, Billy Joe Armstrong's vocals sound different on this track. It's like as these guys are getting older, they need more vocal processing done in the studio, or maybe they're just trying out something different sonically. Either way, I'm glad this track is not nearly as bad as the abortion of a record that was 2020's Father of All. I really wish I had done a video on that album. I don't know why I didn't. It's like perfect fodder for my channel, where I just take the piss out of something that gets on my nerves. For those of you who don't know, Green Day put out this album in 2020, and it had this really kind of cringy boomer energy in the promotion. It was like, no beats, no Swiss producers, just pure rock. And then when the album came out, it was like, if Green Day were accused of being sellouts in the 90s when they started to become big, that couldn't hold a candle to the sellout which was this record. It's almost as if Billy Joel heard some stock millennial pop rock on a Ford commercial, and he thought to himself, hey, I can write generic millennial pop rock jingles for truck commercials too. And that's exactly what every song sounded like on this record, but I digress. Here Comes the Shock comes in strong with like a nice old school punk rock vibe, but with better production, so it's got some more ass to it. But about a minute into the song, it really loses its momentum. It's nothing you haven't heard before. It's very repetitive, very formulaic, very intro, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. And at the end, he repeats the hook, here comes the shock, like a million times, to the point to where like you just really want to skip the track because it just gets so monotonous. I'd say overall this song is very meh, but it's definitely not as bad as anything that came off of Father of All. Up next, we have the song My Weakness from Candlebox. Now, Candlebox was a really prolific, popular band in the 90s. They had their first record, at least, was really successful, and they were definitely lumped into the alternative rock category. And even though I'm not a huge fan of Candlebox, I figured one of the kind of veterans of that music scene should be represented in this list because they haven't really done anything new since 2016, aside from the single that they released in 2020 that I'm assuming will be on their next upcoming album. So anyway, their new song is called My Weakness. Again, this is a very middle-of-the-road, forgettable, mid-tempo, modern rock track with expensive-sounding production. Songs like these are not doing any favors in bringing back rock and roll to the mainstream. I mean, kids are going to hear this song and they're going to be like, my uncle listens to this kind of music when he goes to pick up his kids from soccer practice. I'm surprised how few plays this track has on Spotify, though, with just over 2,000 streams, because, I mean, like I said, this band had a lot of prominence in the 90s with constant radio plays of their song You and Far Behind, which are still being played on the radio to this day. Like I said before, Candlebox released a single in 2020 as well called Let Me Down Easy, which is also very boring and generic. So it seems like Candlebox is doing the kind of the modern release formula where they just kind of drip out songs individually instead of just hitting you with one new album at once, expecting you to listen to all the tracks, you know, in one sitting. Because if they're expecting that to happen, it's not. People just, sadly, they don't consume music like that anymore. It's a very ADD culture nowadays when it comes to the music listening. So going back to their track My Weakness, not very good. Definitely not intrigued by anything this band has coming down the pike. I will take a moment, however, to point out that Kevin Martin, the lead singer of Candlebox, is a super nice guy, stand-up guy. One of the first bands I was in back in, like, I want to say 2008, we opened for Candlebox, and after the show, Kevin talked with the four of us and was super complimentary, and he didn't have to do that. And so, you know, now anytime I bring up the band Candlebox, I mention how cool their lead singer, Kevin, is. And that just goes to show you, if you're in the public eye in any way, you should always be cool to people. Because if you're a dick, you know what I would have been saying for the past 10 years? Man, fuck Candlebox, their lead singer's an asshole. But instead, even though I don't care for their music nowadays, lead singer's cool as shit. Moving on to our next 90s alt-rock band with new music, Bush. They actually dropped a new album in 2020, but they already have yet another new single in 2021 called American Eyes. I would imagine the pandemic is the reason why a lot of these bands have been able to churn out so much new music, because what the fuck else are you going to do? So there's definitely some interesting guitar work on this song. He's got some nice pauses and syncopation going on. Definitely sounds like Bush, which there's something to be said for that. When you are able to maintain a consistent sound that your fans like, then that is usually a good thing and not a bad thing. Unless you're a band like Weezer that just has fans that are willing to just go on the ride that you want to take them on, and you can just kind of put out whatever the hell you want and they'll just eat it up. But most of the time, it is detrimental to your career to change up your sound too much. And, Bush hasn't really done that. So, the chorus could have been a little stronger on this song, but overall it's decent. It's not anywhere near my favorite Bush song, but I've never been a huge fan of Bush. I'm just a casual fan. I like 16 Stone and some tracks off of Razorblade Suitcase. Not a huge fan of Gavin Rossdale's vocals, but, that's neither here nor there. I do recommend giving this track a listen, though. I am fully aware that Foo Fighters and Weezer have also put out new music in 2021, so I might make a part 2 to this video. I did listen to Shame, the single off the Foo Fighters' new album, Medicine After Midnight, and it was definitely the most interesting of the bunch of these tracks that I've talked about. Fuck it, I guess I'm talking about the Foo Fighters and Weezer songs. Definitely interesting. The composition, the groove at the beginning of the song, good lord, man, very great groove. Vocals had some nice melodic, rememberable melodic passages that kind of stick with you. So actually, the Foo Fighters song and the Offspring song are probably my two favorites out of this new batch of music from these alt legends. And then the Weezer album, OK Human. I don't know what Weezer does anymore. They just kind of do whatever. They are so eclectic. I think they have the best chance of standing the test of time, Weezer and Foo Fighters, just because Foo Fighters has kind of become the de facto last rock band standing that is, still really popular. So yeah, I haven't really taken a deep dive into OK Human. And why did they have to do a playoff of Radiohead's OK Computer? That's so fucking lame. Like, anytime a band tries to, like, align themselves with a classic album like OK Computer, or, I think, didn't the Sex Pistols do an album called Let It Be after the Beatles album? I just think that's, like, super cheesy. But I don't know, maybe it has some kind of lyrical tie-in. Anyway, what have you thought about these tracks? If you have listened to them, if you haven't listened to them, you should go check it out if you're a fan of alt-rock, which if you've watched my channel, I'm sure you are. And if you have any other time, check out my band Dancing with Ghosts. We have some of our songs and music videos on this very channel. Make sure you like this video, subscribe, comment, share, and until next time, have a good rest of your night.